Hi guys, Michelle Posey for Coastal Conservative News. Now while the debate continues on how we arrived at the need for Operation Midnight Hammer over the weekend, one thing is clear. Every U.S. president has pledged to forbid Iran from obtaining nuclear capabilities for the last 5 decades. From the economic sanctions under Bush 1 and 2 and President Clinton to the crippling effects of Obama's Iran nuclear deal, a deal that turned out to be almost treasonous, in my opinion, all American presidents have carried out the same intention as current President Donald Trump, at least in their words. So a few questions would come to mind. Would you rather have leadership that is all talk and no action? What role did the United States' ignorance to Iran's nuclear program play in the escalation of their capabilities? Did U.S. tax dollars given to the Iranian regime via Barack Hussein Obama in pure cash contribute to Iran's ability to escalate their uranium enrichment? Guys, if our fingerprints as a nation are already on the issue, then don't we have a right to go in and correct it? Allow me to explain. In 1968, Iran agreed to a non-proliferation agreement due to the world not wanting them to have nuclear capabilities. It was ratified in 1970, but guys, just a decade later in 1980, Iran's nuclear program and enrichment of uranium began again in secrecy. In the 90s, President Bush Sr. stated he would not tolerate a nuclear-armed Iran. He imposed economic sanctions on Iran. Clinton and Bush Jr. both followed suit, believing that crippling the economy of Iran helped to cripple their ability to enrich uranium. Now, the IAEA, the International Atomic Energy Association, sent inspectors that were brought in to monitor Iran's progress. We knew the Iranian regime was a problem, that they were largely dishonest, but no American president wanted to poke that bear. We did, however, dive into endless wars with Iran's neighbors, Iraq and Afghanistan, all while not addressing the atomic elephant in the region. Now, the election of Barack Hussein Obama brought with it a change for the Iranian regime. As they already were known as the largest state sponsor of terror, one would think any leader of the free world would at least continue with economic sanctions and independent inspections, right? Not so with Obama. In 2015, the Iran nuclear plan launched, and the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action was signed by the U.S., the U.K., France, China, Russia, and Germany. In a landmark agreement, this was done in exchange for Iran ensuring that its nuclear program was used exclusively for peaceful purposes, in exchange for lifting international sanctions. A firm handshake, if you will, with a known bully and terrorist regime. Not surprising that China and Russia were also on board, but what is most alarming is that our President Obama, prior to leaving office, paid Iran $1.7 billion in cash for an alleged settlement dating back to the 1970s, oddly around the time that Iran was to also stop the process of trying to enrich uranium. Obama also gave Iran access to frozen assets, including $5.7 billion in frozen overseas reserves. Obama's Iran nuclear plan began the de-escalation of Iran's nuclear capability, allowing Iran to evade scrutiny. Now, thanks to Obama, Iran's military sites went unmonitored by the IAEA, and inspectors were forced to petition Iran's mullahs to visit sensitive sites and wait almost 2 weeks for their permission, ample time for Iran to cover its tracks. And once Biden was in office, let's face it, he had no idea what he was doing, much less what Iran was doing. So guys, whether you are for or against Operation Midnight Hammer, we must take a collective accounting as Americans and realize those failures that have American fingerprints on them. And we have a right to correct course if need be. To willfully look the other way or simply talk the talk with no action is not a feasible game plan to keep the largest state sponsor of terrorism from getting a nuclear weapon. Think about it. Thanks to heads being buried in the sand with prior U.S. leadership, Iran has funded terrorism by proxy through Hezbollah, the Houthis, Hamas, all of which have American blood on their hands. So if this strike angers you, I understand. But I would ask, what angers you the most? The fact that we took decisive action that should have arguably been done decades ago, or the fact that it took us so long to get here? Thank you so much for tuning in, guys. Make sure you join Coastal Conservative News every Friday on Rumble at 7 p.m. We'll talk to you soon.